This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by Audible. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Thursday, July 23rd, 2020, and my guest is Ricky Villacrez of GSMArena. Hi, Ricky. How are you?
I'm doing great. A little bit wet with the weather down here in Florida. It's been raining a lot, but staying cool. It's been a nice break from the heat that's been going on right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, so it's been a busy week in mobile. I was putting together the topics, and there was a lot of news. I mean, in addition to what we were expecting, like the Nord, which is obviously something big we want to talk about. And then, like a bunch of Samsung news, a bunch of mid-range-ish phones. I don't know what to call these phones anymore. What would you call them? Are they affordable flagships or premium mid-range, or what do you want to call them?
I was going to say premium mid-ranger, but I kind of like affordable flagship, actually. I feel like that's really a category that it's digging out for itself with this 5G processor that's very well-rounded.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for a while I was calling premium flagship versus affordable flagship. I was calling the 855 and 865 phones that were $1,000 the premium, and then the cheaper 8 series, like the OnePlus 7T, I was calling those like affordable flagships. But now I think we've got an entire new tier with the 765G, and I think that's pretty super exciting, actually. I think that chip is going to change the game.
I think it already has. I think that OEMs are noticing that the 765 can help them carve out a new category of flagship. So this is like their second, if you guys, we have this $1,000 flagship, but we also have this, cheaper flagship. And this is what we're going to also market just as much as the main flagship kind of thing. Like, it gives them more variety and more accessibility too, I think.
I know, and I think a part of it is because, of course, the 865 series has gotten so expensive with the need for an additional chip, like the X55 modem. I don't think you can technically make an 865 phone without 5G, right? But who would do that? And I don't think Qualcomm, from a licensing perspective, allows you to do it. I could be wrong, and if anybody from Qualcomm is listening, I'd love to hear your take on this. But so I don't think you can make an 865 phone with just the 865. You have to get the X55 modem. So it's 2 chips, more power, but more power in terms of performance as well. So, but the prices have crept up, right? And I think that's not realistic today for a lot of people because in many ways phones are so commodified, and I think that you start seeing even at the kind of the normal budget mid-range price point, like the Moto G series, that those phones are perfectly livable day to day for most people. Like, look at Pixel 3a from last year, right? People would be happy with that phone, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I was very happy reviewing that phone.
Yeah.
It was very, very, very well done.
So I think that this is a tier above that, but a tier below the crazy $1,000. And I think in this time of pandemic, where people are economically, constrained, I think this is a good thing, and I'm really excited about it. And that's why I'm super stoked about the Nord, even though we're not technically getting it in the US. So anyway, what's your take on the Nord? You don't have one, but you've looked at all the reviews, you've talked to your friends that are in the media. What's your impression?
My impression is it's very competitively priced, and it looks really nice. Like, we were just talking about how the 765 is in this $500-$600 range, but the OnePlus Nord undercuts the other ones, like the Velvet and some other phones we're going to talk about, the Moto Edge. So once again, OnePlus is bringing back this notion that it can make a really nice looking phone that does a lot of things well for a lower price. And I'm excited, even though it's not coming to the US, because the US has its own issues with the smartphone market. It looks like a very compelling phone.
So there's a couple of surprises that came out of this launch that I wasn't even privy to as somebody who was under embargo, who had received the phone, because I've had it for a couple of weeks now. And there were the lower tier, the 6 gigabyte tier, that's only India. and that sells for less than 399 euros. That's new. And then the other thing that surprised me was it is actually coming to the US in this kind of roundabout way with this waiting list thing. Like they have a special like invite system, very limited availability. So I don't know the details, but I mean, I can look them up. I don't know them off the top of my head, but it's possible if you were on the finger on the trigger the day of launch that you could have gotten into this. They're doing like a limited beta release for the US. Like you apply, they decide if you're worthy, you get the phone, you pay for it or whatever. I don't know exactly how it works, but there is a chance that if you're in North America, you can get this phone. Of course, you can import it eventually. And there's lots of trustworthy importers out there. So I don't think it's going to be a huge deal.
I think that's a great idea that OnePlus is, even if it's with an invite system, like, when they first started. But I think that's a great idea. Like, we don't have a lot of cool phones here, but imagine if every OEM offered like, okay, we're going to do like a sale of 1,000 units overseas. But then obviously that comes with its own legal ties now that I think about it. But I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about this is that, I think OnePlus is in a bind here, right? Look, I can't review the OnePlus Nord on this show because that's going to be for next week. We have an embargo on reviews. I can only tell you a few things, really. And what I can tell you is that in my experience, this phone has made the OnePlus 8 irrelevant.
Wow.
Okay? So what that means is that, yes, a OnePlus 8 is still on paper benchmark-wise faster, right? But spec-wise, you're not really gaining anything. Spec-wise and experience-wise, you're not really gaining anything with the 8. So you can imagine why they're not selling it in the US, right? Because in the US, the carriers have so much control. And for the first time, come on, OnePlus got Verizon on board, right? Even though it's a custom version of the OnePlus 8 with different controls in the sense that cases for the OnePlus 8 unlocked don't fit the cases for the Verizon OnePlus 8 because, millimeter wave, so they had to completely redesign the inside of the phone and they had to move the volume rocker a little bit. A lot of people don't know this, but the OnePlus 8 for Verizon is really a custom OnePlus 8. So my point is, though, they have a OnePlus 8 for Verizon, they have a OnePlus 8 for T-Mo, and I think that the carriers are not ready yet to lose those profits if OnePlus were to bring the Nord to the US. And that's the challenge. They've kind of backed themselves into a corner, but at the same time, they haven't, because on this market in the US, as you know, Ricky, right, people go to the store and they get a subsidy. No, it's not really a subsidy, but like a loan, right? Like a lease or whatever you want to call it. They pay a monthly fee for their phone, and it's actually, they don't really notice the price, right? It's not that big of a deal for most people, right?
Definitely.
So I think that's kind of why it's not coming to the US, because it's so close to the 8, and the 8 is a carrier cash cow in a way, right? Like it's what keeps the OnePlus relationship with the carriers going, because the 8 Plus is only unlocked in the US, and that's really the one you want, honestly. If you want maximum specs, that's the one you want. So I feel like they kind of painted themselves in a corner in a way, and that's why they're doing a beta only, and that's why all that. But I think it's only a matter of time before the Nord comes to the US officially. And we're probably going to have that once the 9 or the 8T or whatever, the next version of the flagship comes out. That's when we're going to get the Nord. So don't despair. If also the importers, as I said, you'll be able to import it. And so here's my takeaway. I have a Poco F2 Pro, right? Okay, the Poco F2 Pro is a Snapdragon 865 phone, right? Okay, it's about the same price, maybe a little more. It's 550 US. So in euros, the Nord is 399, which is about 450 US. So for $100 less, you get more features. You get OIS on the camera. It's the same camera as the 8, right? You don't get OIS on the main 64 megapixel camera of the Poco F2 Pro. And it really becomes a problem when you do like 2x zoom, because neither of them have a telephoto. So when you're doing zoom, you're using the main sensor and you're cropping. And then the shake at night, even in the daytime, I see a lot of shake on the Poco F2 Pro when I try to zoom, and handheld, right? And on the OnePlus Nord, it's rock solid. Another thing is 90 hertz display. The Nord has a 90 hertz display. The Poco F2 Pro does not have a 90 hertz display. So yes, you can buy an 865 phone for $550, or if you buy, say, the Red Magic 5G, which I reviewed on Hot Hardware, you can buy a gaming phone that has an 865 for $579 in the US, legally, officially, whatever you want to call it. But the reality is, like, it's not even as good, not remotely as good of an experience as the Nord, because the Nord is so well-rounded, right? Like, it's not just about the specs and not just about the speed and not just about being able to say, hey, I have an 865 in my phone. This is about the whole experience. And that super fluid software, that super fluid, display and processor, all melded together by great optimization that you're used to on the 8 and the 8 Plus is there on the Nord. It feels, side by side, you notice a little slower, but if you look, if you're just using it, you don't notice. Like I am, my daily drivers are OnePlus 8 Pro right now.
Same.
And the only thing holding me back from going to the Nord as my daily driver, because I really want to, because I want a smaller screen, and I don't like the 8. I think that I'm so close to the 8 Pro, I might as well have the 8 Pro in my pocket. I wasn't very excited about the 8 when I reviewed the two of them together. Like, I feel like they cut too many corners in the wrong places just so they could make a 865 5G phone. It's not an all-rounder like the 8 Pro or like the Nord. The Nord is an all-rounder, and it does everything right. And so the only thing holding me back is the lack of wireless charging. If the Nord had wireless charging, in a heartbeat, this would be my daily driver, because what I have found, and this is not a review of the Nord, I want to be very clear because I'm talking about generics here. Generic 865 versus 765 G, at least the 765G, the way OnePlus has done it, is you can't tell them apart in everyday use. There's like, if you're just doing your normal like social media, mail, all that stuff. If you're playing games, yes, you might notice, but I'm talking about even the most demanding multitasking that you would do, especially since the Nord has 8 or 12 gigs. There's also a 6 gig version now, right? But even with 6 gigs, I bet you it's fine. So that's my take. My take is that it's the most well-rounded of those $500 765G mid-rangers so far. I've had a very little bit of hand time with Velvet. I've finally got a review in it. I've just started using it, so I have less time with that. So that feels honestly sluggish to me compared to the Nord. It's not bad. Like, it's still fast. Of course, the Velvet is faster than like a Moto G or something.
Sure.
But after the Nord, man, you're just like, my Pixel 4 feels slow after the Nord.
I was using the OnePlus 8 Pro, and then I went back to the Pixel 4 to go on a beta, and it just felt slow.
I know, right?
Same, yeah. It wasn't. OnePlus does such a good job with optimization of software, and that experience is just so quick. Like, they've done a really good job with it. And going to LG software is not the right step.
That's probably not the right. So I get the Edge next week or something. Maybe I'll be able to tell you folks, the listeners, how much of a spread of performance there is on the 765G between those three phones. Because at that point, I'll have had the Velvet for a week, the OnePlus Nord for 3, and the Moto Edge for a few days, and I'll be able to tell you, like, this is like what you can expect from like the worst of the 765G and the best of the 765G. I don't know what the worst of the 765G is going to be, but I know that the best, I don't think anybody's going to be able to beat OnePlus on this. In the same way as we know, as you know, going from a OnePlus 8 Pro to anything really right now is disappointing, right?
I would hard agree. Yes.
Right. I mean, it's just forget it, right? So that's the only thing that tells me the Nord is good, is that I'm used to 8 Pro, and I go to the Nord and I'm like, this is fine. You know, like the dog in the fire, this is fine. Like, but without the fire, because this is fine. Yeah. It's amazing. It's an incredible phone. Like, I don't think people understand how hard it is to make a phone that good for that money without cutting any corners other than maybe wireless charging. And if you really want to be picky, headphone jack and IP, although it does have gasket around the SIM tray. So I know it's water resistant to some extent, right? So the question comes down to, like, headphone jack, I think we can all live without, because we're going to talk about the Buds in a second, and they're awesome. And then you have other choice if you want to go higher end than that. the wireless charge is really my only biggest freaking, oh man, really, I cannot live with it without it now that I've had it for so long on so many phones. But like, look, the processor and the performance is good. The camera is, again, I can't talk too much about how good it is, but if you know what the OnePlus 8 can do, you pretty much know what the Nord can do. And that's pretty great. And then, everything is balanced. There's nothing that's like, they cut corners here. Like, you can't point at something other than wireless charging and say.
No, and they even put a Warp Charge 30 in there too.
I know, 30T. I charged it last night because I wanted to run the benchmarks on it, and I was at 20%. I'm like, I don't want to run benchmarks at 20%. I want at least 50 or 60% on there. Or I'll just plug it in. I plugged it in, and I got carried away. I was doing something. I come back to it. It's at 100, and I'm like, no, I didn't want 100 to run the benchmarks. It doesn't matter, right? But I was like, seriously, I just wanted 50 or 60%. Like, what the hell? This is too fast.
It's too fast now, huh?
No, I was joking because I think I lost track of time is what happened.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that. And yeah, look, I'm smitten. And the color and the build. This is the thing. Like, I have an Oppo Reno 3 Pro. They share the same display. The same chipset, 765G, at least the 5G version of the Reno 3 Pro. I have the 4G version, so it's probably a Helio P95. But anyway, they share a lot of stuff. They look even similar. If you turn them around, the camera pod is very similar, located in the same place. Well, get what? The Oppo is made of plastic, like plastic rim, plastic edge, plastic back panel, even though it's like glass. It looks and feels like glass and metal, but it's plastic. Has a headphone jack, granted.
Right.
And has similar cameras, exactly the same display, same front cameras, two of them. It's basically, you can tell there's part sharing going on here between BBK Group properties, right? Oppo and OnePlus. Yet the OnePlus is so much better made. Like, so my point is that even though there's part sharing, and that's also why the OnePlus Nord, I think, is reasonably priced, is that they have this ecosystem of things to pick from in their parts bins, right? They can go like, oh, let's grab this and that and this and that. It's amazing.
So we have a hands-on up on GSMArena, and this was done by our correspondent in India. So I wonder if the Indian build is different because here it's listed with a plastic frame, but with Gorilla Glass 5 front and back. So I wonder if the other variant that you have is still plastic or if it might be a different material.
It's hard to tell. It feels like metal to me. I guess really well done. See if it's plastic. But the bottom line I'm saying is that it doesn't feel as cheap as the Oppo, despite them sharing a display. Yeah, also the display on the Oppo is identical, yet it's not 90 hertz. So it's like very interesting how, I guess I've heard from display tech people that to get 90 hertz, you need a special screen, but you can also use that screen with a different chip and run it at 60 hertz and save money, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, they are not cutting corners here. It's like you're getting 90 hertz, whereas on the Oppo. So I think, I came into it thinking the Nord is going to be a part spin special. It's going to be good, but it's basically going to be clobbered together to be pretty much an Oppo Reno 3 Pro clone. And I'm so wrong. Like, there is so much more to it than that. No OIS on the Oppo. OIS on the Nord. Like, if you cut corners like Poco did with the F2 Pro, which isn't a bad phone, but if you remove OIS from the main camera, come on. Like, that's clearly cost cutting, right?
Of course.
So that's my take on the Nord without really reviewing it. I hope that I'm not getting into trouble with OnePlus because I don't think I got into too much detail about.
I don't think you did.
I just think it's great. I just think it's fantastic. And if you're shopping right now for a phone and you're a nerd like we are, like me and Ricky, you're a phone nerd. You really know your stuff and you don't want to spend a lot of money. Like, I really think you wait for an importer in the US, buy it if you're in Europe or Asia. You will not regret it. This phone is wow. Like the Italians would do with their hands in like the smacking sound, like mwah. Mwah. Like, I have not been this excited by a phone in so long. And it's not because of the marketing. I get the marketing was brilliant.
Oh, the marketing's great.
I'm another sucker for that, though. I'm a journalist. I'm objective. I know these things. But man, this thing, it delivers so hard. So hard.
Listen, they could have called this the OnePlus X or the OnePlus Z or the OnePlus some letter, but they went with Nord and they gave it a meaning and they gave it a color and
Oh my God.
and this is how you market a phone. This is how you create an identity for a new lineup. I think they did a really good job.
Oh, it's incredible. This is a lesson in marketing. Like this, people are going to study this. Better, I think, than the original by far, like the OnePlus One. But mostly because we knew it'd be good. Not for a second did I think it was going to be that good. Because I was like, well, how can you do marketing better than what they've done before? And then they still blew my mind. It's like, wow. Like, yeah, genius. But at the same time, this is so needed. We need phones like this because we don't need $1,000 flagships. And, you have 5G. I'm using it on T-Mobile. I've got 5G on this phone. It works like a charm. Like, it's not a US phone. Mine has a European adapter in it, so I guess it's a Euro phone I have. 5G is okay. So there you go. Enjoy.
There it is.
It's like, wow, really, really, really nice. And then, all the software, Oxygen, all the features you're used to. And now the Google Discover feed is in the launcher because that's a new feature. And so we don't have to deal with the stupid shelf that they used to have still on the OnePlus 8.
So I have something to say about the shelf because I like it. When I didn't listen, when I didn't see it on the OnePlus 8 Pro, I was like, why is it gone? I love the parking feature. But recently, it's back. It's just in a different place. Yeah. So really quick, because I don't want to spend too much time on this. I pull down from just like any part of the home screen, and then it doesn't pull the notification shade down. It pulls the shelf down. And then if you pull from the very top is when you get the notification. You can turn it off or on, but I had a pop-up out of nowhere one time, and it said, "Oh, enable OnePlus Shelf," and I was like, "Oh, there's the parking feature." Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that there are some useful things in the shelf, but overall, I feel like Google tells you where you park too, right? Like,
yes.
So it's like, to me, there's so much more added value, especially when you're deep in the Google universe, like I am. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, listen. I've done a lot of talking, and I want you to do some talking now about the OnePlus Buds because I also have a lot of talking to do about the Buds. But man, I love them. And again, I went into it thinking, they're going to try to reach a price point, and they're going to try to make something that's a cool accessory for the Nord and for the OnePlus 8s. Great, no problem. I'm on board. But I'm going to be disappointed because I'm a picky sound quality person, and it's going to be fine. It's going to be like the TCL earbuds, which for $80 were pretty awesome. Or like, but I'm used to like Huawei's, free Buds 3, which are like $150, $180. I'm used to like Sony's WF-1000X Mark III that are noise canceling earbuds. I'm used to like, Pixel Buds, which I have a lot of issues with the Pixel Buds. I mean, but I'm used to like, more premium earbuds. So I was kind of like dismissing it. And then tell us.
so yeah, I received the Buds a little while back before they were announced. I got them in white and blue. I think I saw your unboxing. You did as well. So right out of the gate, when I opened the Buds, I was like, just like OnePlus always had their, really nice packaging and their really premium materials on the packaging and the colors and there's not really much included in the box. It's just the headphones, it's just the case with the Buds inside, and then a little, short OnePlus Red charger cable. It's just a cable. But I mean, I went in this with the same expectations. I didn't have really high expectations. Oh, these are going to be, cheaper Buds, like AirPod clones, like everybody's doing now. How are they gonna be? So I paired them. It has the fast pair when you open it next to your OnePlus phone. I think any other Android phone will do it as well, not just OnePlus phone.
Yeah, I've tried it on Pixel.
Yes, it does it as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't do it on iPhone. I tried on iPhone 11 as well. You have to manually pair them on the iPhone, just so you know.
Yes. So it's only fast pair for Android. But yeah, I tried them on and I threw them on, and I have to say I wasn't 100% impressed with the sound, and I'll tell you why. And this was present on both the blue and the white ones. So to me, they sounded very muddy. I thought that the bass was really, like, it has a lot of bass, but it was too powerful and it was overpowering everything else. But the saving grace is that I went into the EQ settings and I adjusted the mids and the highs a little bit higher so I could hear them better, and I slightly lowered the bass. But that's just me. It's my preferences.
Right.
It's my settings. But I was able to get much better sound out of it. I could hear more instruments, and the bass. I like bass, but I don't like boom boom bass in my ears. Like I don't love that. It's not for me. But I was able to. I think they sound really good. They sound really good, and the battery life is great. The size of the ear pods themselves, so when I wear ear tips on any headphones, I'm usually between medium and large. And these are like a little on the larger side. They're pretty snug on my ears. So if you have small ear canals, maybe they're not the best. It might start hurting after a while. But yeah, I like the case. The hinge on the case is so like here. I'm gonna snap it in front of the mic so you guys can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it on there, but
here, I'll do it on my end as well.
Do it on your end as well, yeah.
You ready?
But,
all right, here we go.
Yeah,
this is like AMSR here.
Yeah, it's very satisfying. Like I've tested really crappy lids on little earbuds too, and they're just, like they would just open when you flick them, but this does not open when I flick it.
This is definitely like AirPods quality, but not as satisfying as the Pixel Buds, in my opinion.
I haven't had the Pixel Buds, so I'm curious to hear in a second. I'm curious to hear your comparisons with the Pixel Buds. Okay. But the other thing is, I mean, just battery life, the fast charge. I haven't had too much time to really test their claims, but they claim 10 minutes on the charger can give you 10 hours listening, or just 10 minutes in the charging case and you get 100 minutes of listening on the buds, which is great. If I'm about to go for a workout, I can just pop them in 10 minutes for my drive to the gym. Well, I'm not going to the gym now, but you know what I mean? But yeah, I think they're really well-rounded. The design is great. The matte finish on the outside is nice. They're USB-C. That now I don't know if I had like a like-dislike opinion about this, but the OnePlus branding is so tiny on these buds. But you could look at it in two ways. You can look at it as they could have slapped a big OnePlus logo on the front, but they kept it classy. They kept it sophisticated, and they just put in really small letters, designed by OnePlus, on the back.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because their phones have the big OnePlus logo. In fact, the Nord says spelled out OnePlus on the bottom. So yeah.
And the last thing about these earbuds is, well, they have the integration with the OnePlus 8 Pro. So if you have a OnePlus 7, OnePlus 8, there's some extra features, like you can change the double tap action, and that's actually not out yet. It's going to be pushed out in an update to these phones soon, but I haven't had it to really test that. And I have to ask you, Miriam, what do you think about the Nord blue like color scheme? Do you like this green blue color?
I'm a bit of a sucker. Blue is not a color that I normally like very much, but I find that with that kind of like greenish accent, it looks pretty good. And I like that it matches the OnePlus Nord, of course. That's kind of cool, right?
I've heard some of our fellow reporters say that they look Fisher pricey, and I can agree with them, but I
don't think it's for everyone.
No,
that's why you have
not.
the white ones, but the white ones are kind of boring. So
you have to pick a struggle.
Yeah, you do.
I like this plate, like even though it looks like, yes, it does look like a baby toy, but I like this playful like take on this kind of product. It's cute and playful, and it's both of those things I like. I really like the color of the Nord Blue Buds.
Yeah, I think there's a disconnect between the way they look in photos and the way they look in person and feel in person.
Oh, of course.
I think that those of you who, obviously most of you have not seen them and touched them with your hands and seen them directly with your eyes, you probably feel they look a little cheap and Fisher pricey, but once you actually handle them, that'll go away very fast. I think that they're very well made. The hinge is metal. No wireless charging is another thing, which again, at $80, who cares? Okay. Like I'm not going to be that picky. With warp charging and USB-C, and come on, like, as you said, 10 minutes for 10 hours, whatever. it's interesting to hear your take on the sound quality because I am super picky about audio. I'm an audiophile. I mean, I hate to use that word because it's really douchey, but everybody reminds me every time I start talking about audio, Miriam, you are. You don't want to admit to it, but you are. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should. I'm a reluctant audiophile. I'm one of those audiophiles that's not willing to spend millions on my stuff. Like I draw the line. I'm a practical audiophile. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll won't spend a huge amount of money, but I am picky. And because I worked in audio and video games for years before I was a journalist. And so I don't have to EQ the OnePlus Buds with my ears. So I think from the reviews I'm reading, I had this conversation on Twitter. I am stunned at how many people are not liking the sound of these. And I'm particularly stunned at how many people reported exactly what you reported, that they're too bass heavy. And I think that is related to the way our ears are shaped. And because like Ryan Hager at Android Police, Daniel Bader, Android Central, feel the same way as I do, that they're perfect out of the box. And they're also picky people. Like, I hate bass heavy headphones and earbuds. I absolutely despise them. I do not like a lot of bass. I feel that generations that exist today out there, younger people and even older people, just have never had a point of reference for what good audio is. They've never heard a band live in like acoustic instruments. They don't know what audio is supposed to sound like. There's not a lot of bass in music. The only way you get lots of bass in music is if you use electronic instruments. Okay, guys? That's how it works. Use a bass guitar, use a synthesizer, you're going to get bass out of that.
Of course.
But even a good drum kit is not going to create that much bass comparatively to what people are hearing on their headphones and earbuds, because for 20, 30 years now, ever since we've had MP3 and compressed audio, I don't have a problem with compressed audio. I think it's technically very, very clever and needed because we can't store audio uncompressed. It takes too much space. And we can't transmit it uncompressed. It takes too much bandwidth. So it's fine. But I think the problem is a lot of audio has been encoded poorly on AAC and MP3, and our ears, like majority of people out there, have never heard good audio coming out of a piece of electronics. And they've certainly never heard audio without bass emphasis, because ever since Beats became a thing in particular, bass-heavy headphones and bass-heavy earbuds have become the norm. And so people are used to that sound. And when there's no bass, they're like, oh, this doesn't sound right. This is bad. And they don't understand that they're wrong, right? So I'm interested. It's surprising to hear you say that the OnePlus Buds sounded bass-heavy too. And I think it's got to do with fit. And like the AirPods, these are, don't have a seal. They don't have a silicone thing. They don't go in your ear canal. They just rest inside your ear conch, I guess it's the little pocket there outside your ear canal. And if you try to jam them in, you're doing it wrong, because that's when you're going to get a lot of bass from them. Like if I jam them in my ear really hard, they're super bass heavy and terrible. But if I just place them on my ear, just pop them down like AirPods, like any earbuds from the 90s, if you were old enough, you had a Discman in the 90s or a Walkman in the 80s, and Sony made these Fontopia headphone earbuds, like they just look like normal earpods, right? But like not white and black or whatever. Those, you just drop them in your ear. You don't push them in your ear canal. And that's exactly what those are like. The OnePlus Buds, you just drop them in there. And to me, they sound surprisingly good. Like for the money, right? Like they sound to me as good as the Sonys, which are $250. And the Sonys, of course, have active noise cancellation. But if you turn that off on the Sonys, to me, the OnePlus Buds are very close. And they're very close to like the Huawei FreeBuds 3, not the 3i, but the 3. And it's like those are good. Like the Pixel Buds, in my opinion, sound not quite as well sorted. They have actually a little lack in bass, in my opinion, compared to the OnePlus Buds. So I'm always looking for super neutral and more importantly, the neutral is one thing. If you pass the neutral test, you win. They did. But what they blew me away with, and they kind of exceeded my expectation, is the amount of detail and balance in their audio. Like there is a really good soundstage and image, which is really hard to do right, especially with cheap drivers. And they've got to go cheap drivers because, $80. So I am really surprised. Like, I'm not here to declare that they're the best by far, no. you can spend a lot more. Like in-ear monitors, you can spend $500 to $1,000 and get something that'll completely obliterate this. But my point is that for everyday normal listening, whether you're doing voice calls or you're just listening to a podcast, or not even just voice, like actual listening to electronic music, jazz, I've listened to everything on this, classical, punk, and they're just delivering. They just keep delivering. And I'm just like, seriously, OnePlus, how can people charge $150 for earbuds after this? How can Google just justify the price of the Pixel Buds? How can Apple? Well, Apple, we all know people buy, Apple products because they integrate so well in the ecosystem. I get it. But honestly, I think the AirPods, the regular, not the Pros, but the AirPods regular don't even come close in terms of sound, in terms of battery life, and cost twice as much unless you get a deal. And the AirPods Pro, I actually think that the OnePlus Buds sound better than the AirPods Pro. Now, not by a lot, by a little bit, but of course the AirPods Pro have noise canceling. Active noise canceling, really helps. Now, I'm talking about listening in your house. Like, I'm not talking about out on the street where you have to deal with traffic and subways if you're in New York or whatever, public transit. Like, I'm talking about you're at home, you can do some critical listening. Maybe the worst you have is an air conditioner running or something. Then that's how I'm comparing them. Like, of course, active noise canceling like the AirPods Pro or the Sony earbuds are going to be better outdoors. You're going to cancel the noise. It's going to sound better. You're not going to have to crank them as high. And your ears are going to thank you. And yeah, for $80, you're not going to get active noise canceling, right? Like, it's not going to happen. So that's kind of my take. And I'm really surprised at the negative reviews on sound or the bass heavy reviews, because I really think that either people have a different ear canal, like a different shape, and which is obviously very true. Like, we all have very different ears, and not a one size can fit all, which is why the silicone buds, the ones that have a silicone tip, are a better universal. Like, I think people don't like them as much because they have to kind of shove something in their ear and it's a little invasive. But I feel that if you want like to be able to get the same sound quality for every ear, using silicone tips is the way to go. But if you have a good fit between the ear and the design of like what I kind of like half earbuds, which is what these are. They're not really in your ear canal. They're just sitting there outside your ear canal, inside your ear conch. Those, which are like the AirPods, the regular AirPods, which are like the Buds from OnePlus, those really don't work for everyone. And we know this because some people, they fall off when they shake their heads, right? For me, they don't fall off when I shake my head. I got a good seal, but it's also not uncomfortable. So I think they fit me just right. And I think if they don't fit you right, it's probably where you start having either too much bass because your ears are too small, so it creates more of a seal, or they sound crappy because your ears bigger and they fall out and stuff. And I think that's so try them on before you buy, I guess. It's hard to do, right? But maybe you return policy for that. But honestly, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, they are really pushing this price, and they're going to be available in the US, except the blue ones, which are actually not coming to the US. Only white and gray. But the US, I don't know, US market needs to step it up.
Well, I think that, honestly, it's a little too loud for Americans,
Actually,
you and I
agree.
are going to be like, yeah, this is awesome, but I think a lot of people are going to be like, no. Like, I've already had people stop me on the street and say, oh, are those AirPods you got custom painted or something? Because, like there's colorware. And I was like, no, I can't tell you what they are.
No, I can't tell you. I love that answer.
Because it was during the embargo. Now I can tell them what they are.
Yeah.
But it's like, look, drawbacks for me are, it's nothing perfect. But $80 again, I'm going to be very, very flexible. And I am so impressed with the sound quality without EQ, like just pure out of the box. And I've now listened to them on OnePlus devices, Pixel devices, and iPhones, and they sound the same. So there's no weird thing going on where they sound different because there's some special EQ setting on the OnePlus, right? Mm-hmm. It's not some kind of weird magic here. At least with the current firmware that I have, they sound the same on everything. There is a special setting right now on the OnePlus Nord, which is like doesn't make the sound that much better in my opinion, but it's like I don't know, it's hard to explain, but there's a setting in there specific to for like sound EQ. There's an EQ setting that's specific to the OnePlus Buds, but I don't really notice a huge difference. They sound a little quieter when you turn that on. That's about it. But there is some, as you said, there's some software updates coming that are going to change a few things. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. My drawbacks are the case is a little bigger than the AirPods case, but then again, battery life is better. The Buds themselves are like slightly oversized, slightly inflated AirPods, regular AirPods. They're definitely a little chunkier, but it doesn't. Again, it fits in my ear. It doesn't bother me. But definitely, you benefit in battery life. 7 hours, 30 hours with the case. It's pretty impressive. Things I don't like, no wireless charging. Other things I don't like, and again, at $80, I'm like, whatever. Other thing I don't like is the controls. By default, right now, this might change with software updates, but right now, the only thing you can do is remove the earbud from one of the earbuds from your ear to pause and put it back to play. There's no play pause on the earbud. Double tap gets to the next track. There's no go to the previous track. You can double tap either side. And then you have a long tap, like tap and hold a couple of seconds. I think it might be 3 seconds to switch between devices. That's actually really helpful because when I've had them paired to iPhone, Pixel, and OnePlus, I've been able to switch between them. It just loops through like all the ones you have, which is nice.
Does it loop through three devices or how many?
I've only tried 2 at the same time, so I don't know.
I figure it's 2. I figure it can switch between, which I like. I like that I can switch between like features, not have to sync it every time I want to switch to my laptop or my phone. So I like that feature.
So the thing to know before we wrap up on the Buds is that right now, if you have a OnePlus device, there's going to be an update, as you mentioned, coming that will let you do software updates on the earbuds, like firmware updates, and will let you set what the controls are doing. Like, so you'll be able to adjust things like what a double tap does, what a single tap does, with maybe a triple tap, what a long press does, and maybe they'll be separate for both ears. I don't know. But right now, you have none of these settings. And right now, as far as you know, this customization and this firmware update will only exist for OnePlus device, and it'll be baked into the OnePlus software, not as a special app. Not like the Galaxy Buds have a special app, Sony has a special app, Apple, it's baked in, so it's like more like Apple, right?
So OnePlus confirmed to me that they are working on an app for Android phones.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, so they're working on something, but that's all they said. So there's no time frame or anything, but I asked is there going to be like a standalone app for people who don't have OnePlus phones? And they said, there's one in the works. That's all I know.
Yeah, I think this is going to be necessary because they're so good that I think a lot of people are going to want to use them on non-OnePlus phones. And, maybe it's too much to ask for an iOS app, but at least a regular Android app would be nice. Here's the thing, though, that I'm hoping. I haven't tried this because I don't have the feature on my OnePlus phones yet. But once that firmware update customization feature lands, I'm going to try changing the settings and see if that sticks, right? So if I pair them with the OnePlus and change the settings, now if I pair it with the Pixel, does the settings stay, right? You know what I'm saying? Because
yes,
at least for some people, if they buy the Buds now and they have a buddy with a OnePlus phone, they can pair them once, set the settings for the controls the way they want, maybe run a firmware update, and then unpair them and pair them to their Pixel, Moto, whatever they have, and be okay for a while, right?
I guess we'll find out when that update comes out. Yeah.
So that's definitely, for some people, this is a deal breaker. Like, I get it. But for me, I don't care. Like, if I want to pause it, I just pull one of them out. If I want to go, I never do next track and previous track. Usually I just like go pull out my phone if I really want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so many earbuds, especially at this price point, don't support volume controls on the Buds. So we can't fault OnePlus for not having volume control on the Buds. On headphones, I think that's you expect that. There's the real estate for the buttons or the touchpad, right?
Right.
But on earbuds, I can, honestly, volume is no big deal. And right now, there's no Google Assistant integration in the sense there's like no long press to get. But there's no technical reason that couldn't happen. Like, there's no weird limitation.
It's coming though.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. So when OnePlus 8 gets the firmware update, that's one of the features that you'll be able to do with the double tap is you can set it to summon assistant. Yeah.
So folks, look, try them out. Try them out. And if you love them, at that point, keep them. If you don't, look for something else. There's so many choices. Anker makes good ones. Jabra makes good ones. And then not to mention all the big brands, Apple, Sony, even as I said, TCL makes a pretty decent pair of $80 ones. And they're not, in my opinion, even in the same league as the OnePlus ones, because the OnePlus ones sound better. But again, the TCL ones are silicone tipped, so they'll fit every ear properly, as long as you don't mind having something in your ear canal. And of course, having something in your ear canal also means you get a little bit of passive, not active, not electronic, but like natural noise reduction when you're outdoors. So, like not everyone has the same needs. I just feel that right now in COVID times where I'm mostly at home, do I want to wear a big pair of headphones when I'm washing the dishes? No. I want to wear just some earbuds, right? And rock to some tunes. Be motivated. Don't like doing the dishes, so the Buds are perfect for that.
Yeah.
And they're not cringy. Like, what I'm saying? Normally, because I'm picky about audio, I'll put on a cheap pair of Buds and I'm like, this sounds like crap. I can't do the dishes with that, And so then I get out my good headphones, and then my headphones are big and heavy and annoying. Whereas with this, I'm just like, okay, this is great. This works like just fine. So I think that's kind of the takeaway for me. I was really surprised. I had dismissed these as just a marketing exercise. Like, oh yeah, let's make a matching pair of earbuds is not complete crap and is color matched with a Nord. Great idea. Because it doesn't have a headphone jack. Even greater idea. And then I was like, no, this is a real thing. This is totally worth it. Wow. And OnePlus keeps blowing my mind right now. That's basically what it is. Yeah. So let's move on to some other topics, shall we? There's a few little things here. So maybe you want to take this. The two mid-range, what is it? Premium mid-range / affordable flagship 765G phones that are actually coming to the US, unlike the Nord, have been announced this week. Well, the Edge was announced before, but there's a new price for the Edge. So do you want to take it?
Sure. Yeah. So LG and Motorola have their mid-range. Basically, they both have smartphones running the same processor as the OnePlus Nord, the Snapdragon 765G, but their price points are different than the Nord, obviously. And, in the US, it's more complicated because there's carriers involved and they don't have as much control of the price that they can set because, carrier pricing and marketing and all that stuff. So the LG Velvet is launching in the US for $599.
Which is pretty aggressive considering it costs like $750 in Korea or something.
Yeah, so it's a nice looking phone. I don't have it myself yet. I think there's one on the way for me now that they have the US models. However, there's no unlocked version coming to the US of the Velvet. And I don't knock LG for that because I think that they know that unlocked sales might not be are not the strongest in the US. People don't buy phones necessarily unlocked in the US, but we also don't know. It could be a carrier limitation they're setting for LG. Like, we don't want you to sell these phones unlocked. I don't know. It's really like split both ways. Then there's also Motorola launching the Edge, the Motorola Edge, but they're launching it. Sorry, I'm pulling up the story right now.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's coming on July 31st for a price of $500, and it's usually priced at $699, which I think is still pretty high for a Snapdragon 765 chip.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same with the LG Velvet, right? Like when the LG Velvet came out in Korea, it was like $750 in Korea, and then the European pricing is like really high as well, like $700-ish. And, again, the Nord is resetting all that, but at the same time, you don't expect those companies to go that low. So, considering their flagships, it's a little weird because on the Moto side, right? The Edge Plus, which is the real big flagship that's Verizon exclusive in the US, is $1,000. And you get a lot for your $1,000. I reviewed it on Hot Hardware, check it out. But I think for the LG one, it's a tougher sell because for, I think, $699, you can buy a V60 right now. V60 5G ThinQ 5G.
That's true. It's very close to the... I didn't even think about that.
And you're getting an 865, which is pretty awesome, right? So I think that there is that to consider. And just be aware that the V60 kind of like kills the whole deal with Velvet. Now, the Velvet's much sexier, right?
That's the thing about the Velvet is it looks nicer It's very attractive, and that's something that Americans might change their mind. Like it might, like an American might say like, oh, I'd like, there's between the V60 and the Velvet. Somebody might say, "Oh, I think the Velvet looks much nicer," and the name Velvet. Another company who's making more branding on a name and really building an identity around a lineup of phones. I like that a lot.
I mean, I have it here, and I just started using it. It's very thin but very big. The screen is 6.8 inches.
Oh wow,
it's a beast. But so it's really interesting because the V60 is a beast as well, right?
Oh yeah.
So, but the V60 is that old industrial design from LG, which at the time was fresh with the V30, but now is very dated looking. And so this is fresh. Like this looks really sexy. I give them props for that. It's very Korean. Like I hate to say it that way, but it's very understated, like kind of like elegant, in design.
Yeah.
Very subtle, but like clean, clean.
I'm a sucker for design with smartphones. I love
it's very nice. Yeah.
Design. Yeah.
So you're paying maybe for that, but the reality is, you're going from 865 to a 765 for about the same, well, $100 less. And, the cameras are also a little bit of a downgrade, not much. So I think you're going from a 64 to a 48 main sensor, but neither of them have telephotos, the V60 or the Velvet. So you get wireless charging though. You do get a headphone jack, but no quad DAC. So that's another thing that's disappointing. Quad DAC is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a nickel and dime thing. Like I'm like, you put wireless charging, you have a phone that costs $600, is almost as much as your $700 flagship, and you remove the DAC. Come on. It can't be that expensive. But maybe, what do I know? I don't know. I mean, there's lots of Velvet coverage out there because even though it's only coming to the US now, it's been out for a while. Lots of pubs have reviewed it. Check it out. I'm not super excited about it because the Nord.
Because the Nord.
But I'm more excited about the Edge because the Edge is sold. Moto is like, when we got shown the Edge Plus in Chicago in February under embargo, they said something else was coming because we were like, come on, Verizon exclusively, screw you, Moto, we hate you. Like, why'd you have to do that? And then they're like, but stay put, we've got another phone coming that's going to be that unlocked phone. And they delivered. This is not sold by any carriers in the US. I mean, maybe it is. I shouldn't say that. I'll check. But it might also be sold by carriers. But the reality is right now, they're pushing it as an unlocked phone. And I think $700, the regular price, is way too much. I hope it stays at $500 or maybe $600, but $500 is what it should be. I think $450 to $550 should be the price point for a 765G phone with 5G. I'm calling it now. That's what it should be.
It should be. It should be. However, I understand. Did you say that one of these phones has wireless charging?
The LG does.
The LG does? I mean, that's one thing. Like, I guess those are the things you pay for. That and like the marketing for those branding, for that brand.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of positioning it as a premium design. And I get it.
Yeah.
But the Edge is premium too. Like, it's basically a revisiting of the Edge Plus, but in a cheaper parts bin, right? Like, cheaper parts in the same kind of chassis. The Edge Plus was pretty premium, and so the Edge should be pretty premium as well. Whether it has wireless charging, though, I don't know. We'll find out. The Edge Plus did, so I have to look at the specs. Probably it might have wireless charging. That's kind of a deal breaker for me now, so maybe I should know that. Anyway, so Edge is coming finally to the US at a more reasonable price,
$500,
more competitive. The Velvet's coming. The Nord is not coming, but it's kind of coming because you can buy it on. You'll probably be able to.
It'll probably be on Amazon eventually.
Exactly. And then the other big news of the week is that Asus has a ROG Phone 3. We knew that was coming, and Samsung has a Galaxy Z Flip 5G. And so the ROG Phone 3 ROG Republic of Gamers. I know if I say ROG, a whole bunch of you have conniptions on the other side, but you know me, I'm not going to change. I'm a scoundrel. I'm not going to say ROG every time.
I say Rogue. I don't
Rogue.
know. They're probably all wrong. I don't know.
Maybe it is Rogue. Yeah, maybe that's what they're going for. Anyway, the Asus ROG. Oh, I just said it right. Phone 3. I'm trying to be nice. Is out, and the reason I'm bringing it up is it's a gaming phone. It's almost like It's 799 euros, I think, starting point, which is like $930. So it's not cheap, but it's on paper the fastest phone right now. It's a Snapdragon 865 Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Tons of RAM, tons of storage, fastest possible RAM, fastest possible storage, all the things. 144 hertz display, a relatively decent camera setup, and apparently some reviews I've read say that the camera is, not the greatest, but it's not sucky either. So
that tends to be the case with gaming phones, really. I mean, people are buying them more for gaming and active cooling and the integrated gaming features, recording and notification blocks and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously the design and the RGB that's on the back of the phone. And
definitely. This does not have wireless charging, by the way. I know this fact. So, yeah. But the Galaxy Z Flip 5G is interesting because it's exactly the same as the G Flip we've had before, but with a Snapdragon 865 Plus. So this is basically the 5G version of the Z Flip, and only $70 more. If you're paying already, whatever it is, $13.99 or whatever it was, like almost $1,400 for a Z Flip, might as well pay an extra $70 for the Z Flip 5G, in my opinion.
I agree.
Who's counting at that point? Because the Z Flip was a great phone.
I'm interested to see if there's any difference in battery life between the two. Probably wasn't much. It probably won't be much, but I don't know. It's possible because the other one was the 855. No, it was the 855 Plus
855
as well.
Plus.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But remember, it didn't have a separate 5G modem like the X55, right?
Right. There's no extra 5G modem. It's probably worse.
But anyway, it's out there. If you can't wait until the August 5 Unpacked event to find out what the Fold 2 or Z Fold, as it's called now,
I'm excited for that.
Probably going to be called, is looking like. Or if you are a Note person and you want a stylus, you probably don't care about the Z Flip 5G. But look, it's cool. It's cool. The Z Flip is on my cool column. So Z Flip 5G is going to be in my cool column.
I'm a fan. I'm definitely a fan. Yeah.
I still have to edit. I recorded a review video when I had it. I did an unboxing, obviously, but I recorded a review video. I never edited it, so I really should probably edit it now. This is a good sign that I should probably do it because it's already been replaced.
There you go.
Well, it's not replaced. Actually, you can buy both.
It's refreshed. But wait, now selling both side by side, I don't know. I don't see it for that.
They are though. Probably there's just leftover stock.
Why would you save $80 to not have 5G? I don't know.
I'll tell you why. You're on Verizon and you're stuck with Verizon because family plan or something, and Verizon doesn't have low band.
Right.
And the Z Flip 5G, I don't think will have millimeter wave. So
yeah, yeah, probably.
I could be wrong. Maybe the Z Flip 5G has millimeter wave. How did they manage to squeeze that in there?
I don't know. They must have had a custom version that none of the cases fit on.
Oh no, don't go there. Oh man. All right, speaking of that's awesome. Speaking of the what is it, Unpacked on August 5th, Samsung has leaked, well, I don't think they've leaked, but maybe they have leaked. Who knows? The Mystic Bronze is the color. It's called Mystic Bronze. All these weird bronze-colored phones that have leaked that we've seen, including the new active noise-canceling Buds, the jelly-shaped ones, and including the Note 20, Note 20 Ultra, and even the what's supposed to be the Fold 2, Z Fold, or whatever. Mm-hmm. All of those are going to be available, including the Z Flip 5G, by the way, which we just talked about. All of those are going to be available in Mystic Bronze.
Nice.
So I guess they're trying to be all like sexy, I don't know, like classy.
I have to say, I like this
like
color.
Very Vegas. I like it too, but it's very Vegas, right?
Yeah, it's like a 5-star dinner. I don't know why. That's the first thing that came to my mind. 5-star dinner. Or like a really luxurious car, like it's like the color of like a very high-end car is what it looks like too. It reminds me of the copper color they had for the Note 8, I think it was, or the 9.
Oh yeah.
But this is a
right.
more. I think I like this tone much better.
This is more goldish.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's between the copper and the gold.
Between rose gold and copper.
It does look like rose gold, huh? It's just not as rose.
Not as rose.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
We broke it down for you folks. Yeah. So anyway, look, it's inevitable that the Unpacked event is going to happen and swamp us for a week in news. So just prepare yourselves. Here, have some Mystic Bronze to keep you occupied until then. Is basically my takeaway of this leak. The bigger piece of news, I think, to kind of wrap up the show with, is that Mark Levoy, who is the person that basically brought us HDR Plus and Night Sight and all these great computational photography features on the Pixel, has left Google. We knew that. But now he's landed at Adobe, and there's talk of him working on a universal camera app, whether it's going to be iOS and Android or just Android, I'm not sure. But supposedly, he's going to add some computational magic to some app that we'll be able to install on our phones rather than rely on only having to buy a certain brand of phone to get good imaging. So that's got me excited.
I mean, what if Adobe releases like their own camera even?
Yeah.
Like
maybe
that would be
hardware.
Yeah, like a who knows, like $100 camera with like a sensor, but everything's software.
Yeah, could be. I mean, like Lytro did, of course, very different there. But
yeah,
look, I'm open to anything at this point, but I'm excited about the idea of an app we can install on our phones that all of a sudden gives us access to, some pretty cool features, even if it's not like if it needs to crunch on the pictures after. Like I can imagine that to make it universal, especially how the APIs are on Android, not all the features are supported by all the phones.
Right.
For third-party apps. That's the biggest problem with using, I love Manual Camera. It's one of the apps from the Google Play Store that is a paid app. I bought it. It's a really lovely, it replicates a lot of the manual modes on DSLRs and real cameras, like standalone cameras. It's got a little dial wheel with the haptic feedback and everything.
I bought this app years ago. I forgot I even had it. I gotta fire it back up.
It's a great app, but the problem is that if you don't have support for shutter speed, on that phone, if the APIs are not exposed to you by the phone's firmware, you are down back to just being able to adjust the EV and the white balance if you're lucky, nothing basically. So I can imagine this app will be more about, you take some photos, they end up in your gallery, and then the computational crunching happens after. You know what I'm saying?
It's got to be cloud-based. It's going to be
or it takes a few seconds on your phone or a minute on your phone to crunch through it, and then you get this magic result. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they do it.
I'm excited as well. I mean, if there's anybody who would have such an app, and that from a very reputable company, Adobe, imagine if it's part of Adobe Creative Cloud. You just upload your smartphone photos on there, and it just poof, magic. However you want. Yeah. That would be pretty cool.
That's exactly what I think is going to happen. It's going to be cool. Well, we should wrap up. Ricky, you want to tell the folks where they can find you on the internet, on the social, on everywhere?
Sure. I'm at Ricky V Tech on Twitter, Instagram, and I'm at GSMArena.com as well. So I'm on their YouTube channel, and I write news on their site as well. So that's where you can find me.
Indeed, and you should read and watch Ricky's videos at GSMArena. They're awesome. The OnePlus Buds article, I'll link to that, so check that out. Look, it's good stuff. I really enjoy your videos. They're really great.
Thank you, Miriam. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. And then you know where to find me, folks, on the internet. I'm at Tankgrl, that's TNKGRL, like the comic book character, but drop the vowels. And that's my Twitter and my Instagram handle. Twitter is where you want to basically discuss the podcast with me. As you know, podcasting apps don't really let you do comments and stuff. So if you want to talk about the podcast, hit me up on Twitter. If you want to see pretty pictures of the phones I'm reviewing and pictures taken with the phones I'm reviewing, hit up my Instagram. There's a YouTube channel, youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast, which is a complement to the show. As you know, the show is audio only. So if you want to watch some unboxing videos, hands-ons, that kind of stuff with the devices we just discussed, check out the channel. And please like the video, subscribe, tell your friends, comment in the comments, notification bell, all that good YouTube stuff. And then finally, if you stumbled on this show by accident or whatever, and you want to know how to subscribe, mobiletechpodcast.com is the URL. So that's mobiletechpodcast.com. There is an RSS feed there, but more importantly, you can subscribe via Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, pretty much everywhere. You should join, you should subscribe. And if the podcasting app you're using lets you do rating or reviews, please do rate or review the show. I appreciate that. I also want to say there's a donate link in the show notes. You know, I appreciate donations to run this show. So it's a PayPal link. If you would like to consider donating, please do it. And then finally, I want to thank Audible, our sponsor. Audible is awesome. If you like audiobooks, they're really the place to be. So the reason I have a partnership with them is because you get a deal and it supports the podcast. It's kind of double whammo. So if you want a deal, 30-day free trial, you get to keep a book at the end, whether you stay or leave. That's the deal. And if you do click through the URL in the show notes, you support the podcast. It helps us out. So it's audibletrial.com/mobiletech. That's audibletrial.com/mobiletech. Check that out in the show notes. Please consider clicking through if you're not an Audible customer. Basically, Audible is fantastic if you love books. If you like to read, but maybe you're delivering review units to the world in your FedEx truck all day or UPS truck, I'm not discriminating, or DHL, and you need to listen to something more than podcasts on your route, well, maybe consider Audible. Audible has an incredible selection of books, and more importantly, a lot of the books are read by the authors. I really like that. That's the part that always gets me. So, if you like books, but maybe you can't always read them with your eyes, you can listen to them with your ears. Audible.com. Check them out. I want to thank them for being a longtime sponsor. Check out the deal, audibletrial.com/mobiletech. And Ricky, thanks for being on the show yet again.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Yay! We'll have you on again, of course.
Awesome.
And folks, stay tuned. We'll have a show next week. And until then, cheers, everybody.
Bye.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.